Evening folks, it's BestInSlot and welcome to a late night rambly video on Jurassic World Evolution. Once the cornerstone of the channel, it's been a little while, we're bringing them back. So unscripted, but I do have a few things I want to cover. We're going to talk about two things in particular. The first is the state of evolution. Will we get DLC during this year? Is the game dead? Stuff like that. And secondly, Frontier's stance on modding, and a tiny bit, and I do mean a tiny bit, about why I didn't cover modding for so long and then suddenly started to cover modding. I keep getting questions about this, about what my stance is and why I did it like that. I'm going to try to answer that, but it is difficult, as you'll hopefully understand why. In terms of new information, we don't really have much. Quick credit to Swerve, who did a video kind of breaking down the live stream that Frontier did the other day. That's where I got the inspiration for this video. I'm hoping to cover some different things, even slightly. The first thing was, so Shantae was doing the live stream. She's like, seems to be doing most of the CM work now publicly for Jurassic World Evolution. I think Bo basically got promoted, and Bo's now like queen of all the CMs, very deservedly, I will say. My desk is squeaking. So the first thing was that there is still a team working on Jurassic World Evolution. That's what Shantae said, but they can't give us any information right now. The second thing was Frontier's official stance on modding. To be honest, we already knew this as well, but they said modding is cool, you're all special snowflakes, very talented snowflakes. It's not what they said, but I'm paraphrasing, but we don't officially support modding. Actually, we don't support modding is what they said. Now, that's it. If all you wanted was new information, that's basically as far as it goes. I'm going to speculate and expand on that a little bit further from my perspective, and knowing the game and what we think about the future of the game, and indeed the sequel and stuff like that. So let's go one by one. There's two things to cover. The first then is DLC. Are we going to get any more DLC? Is Jurassic World Evolution dead? And that's actually what inspired me to make this video in the first place. There was quite a negative reaction on the Discord, on the subreddits, on the forums and stuff to both the live stream and to Swerve's video. Not that the video itself was bad, but just that it highlighted what Shantae said. And people took it quite negatively. People took her tone or whatever to mean that Jurassic World Evolution was dead and we weren't getting any more content. Despite the fact she said there's a team on it. Now, of course, that team could just be doing, bug fixes and stuff like that. That's personally, I don't believe that, but that could possibly be the case. But people took her fairly non-committal response to mean we weren't getting any more, shut up World, we weren't getting any more content. And this really confused me, I'm not going to lie, because this is what Frontier always do this. Frontier never give us any information. Now, whether you like or hate that is completely up to you. That's not my point. I don't have a dog in this fight. Why are you fighting with dogs in the first place? I don't know. Is it dog in this fight? That's the phrase, right? Yeah, I think so. Anyways. I need to calm down. Anyways, the point is, Frontier always do this. Even when we were in the midst of Jurassic World Evolution development, even when stuff was coming out for Planet Zoo, blah 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 blah, they tend to maybe give you a tease like a week or two before, add a push. But I mean, things like dinosaur packs for Jurassic World Evolution, there was no hint they were even coming out. They kind of just dropped out of nowhere. Like, they literally just released to the store one day. Even I don't know. I usually get DLC like ahead of time so I can pre-record and stuff like that. They don't even tell me when dinosaur packs are coming at all, so nobody knows. Frontier is really big on keeping things very quiet and kind of just doing things in their own time and not really giving much information. You can love or hate that, but the point is it's very consistent with their past behaviour. So Shantae saying, she can't say anything else right now, or whatever tone or anything like that, doesn't really mean anything, because they never do. They never say anything. So I think we can kind of dismiss that, personally. I do think there's several reasons to believe we're going to get DLC this year, and I've thought them through in a list, which I didn't write down because I'm an idiot. So, number one, you can't see, but I'm doing a big one. Frontier do not have a game, as far as we know, coming out in 2020. We expect Jurassic World Evolution 2 next year. We expect their Formula 1 game, which just got announced in 2022. Well, we know that's 2022. But as far as we know, they don't have a title at all coming out in 2020, which should mean, in theory, they've got slightly more open development time because they're not doing crunch work. And like it or hate it, probably hate it really, but crunch time is a very real thing in the industry, and basically every game goes through it. So the fact they don't have any crunch time this year should, in theory, mean more dev time to work on Jurassic World Evolution. The second thing, and honestly, for me, the more compelling angle, is Jurassic World Evolution 2 comes out next year. That's not official. I don't have any extra information, but I think most of us kind of accept that at this point. Stop squeaking. My desk squeaks. The world has started to vibrate lately, and then everything squeaks, and I don't know why. Most of us believe Evolution 2 is coming out next year. We know there's a big licensed game coming out next year, and we know that's not the Formula 1 game, because that's 2022. Frontier made a fortune off Evolution. Universal, assumedly, made a fortune off Universal, going Sean Connery there. And of course, Jurassic World Dominion comes out next year. We also saw those images, which I still don't know if they were fake or not, but nobody ever claimed them. And there's just rumours and stuff. There's too much information. There's too much smoke, right? There's a fire. I'm 99% sure we're getting Evolution 2 next year. Let's just roll with that. So, if you're releasing a sequel to Evolution next year, what is the best tactic to make sure people are excited and buy your game? Is it A, to abandon your previous game for a year and a half, therefore killing all hype and annoying the player base before they buy your sequel, hopefully? Or is it B, keep your player base happy with DLC packs and more updates, and then they buy the sequel? It's B. It's shocking, I know. I just don't think it would make sense for them to abandon Evolution if Evolution 2 is coming out next year. It just doesn't make sense. Plus, we don't know how Evolution 2 is going to work, but we can assume it's built on a similar framework to Jurassic World Evolution 1, in which case any dinosaur added to Evolution could in theory just be put into Evolution 2 anyway. Evolution 2 will come out, I mean, at the end of the day, they always build like higher poly dinosaur models and then they get scaled down for release and for game version. This happens in basically all game making, generally speaking, especially at higher levels. So they could easily transpose any dinosaurs they make for Evolution into Evolution 2, is my point. I'm convinced, right? And at the end of the day, they've got a team working on the game. I've not heard anything about Evolution 2 having stopped development, which is actually important now that I think about it. This wasn't on the list, but now it is. When Planet Coaster stopped getting DLC, which was late last year, we got told. We now know Planet Coaster has hit the end of its DLC cycle, and that was after years. It's worth noting as well, Planet Coaster was supported for such a long period of time, several years, way longer than Evolution has been, and it only just stopped being supported. Frontier are, generally speaking, very good at post-release support. Maybe we don't get as much communication as we'd want, and maybe it's not as quick as we'd want, but it tends to be there. Now, I don't think we're about to get a DLC on the scale of Return to Jurassic Park, personally. I think that was their magnum opus, as it were, but I am pretty confident that by, say, the end of April, which would be slow, I admit, we'll get some DLC on our hands. You've got to remember last year, after the Secrets of Dr. Wu and then we got the Cretaceous pack, we didn't get DLC for... Alright, do you mind, buddy? We didn't get DLC for absolutely ages. Maybe this is just a thing that Frontier does. Maybe they're a little slow to get going after Christmas, because this is not the first time it's happened. Even, at the end of the day, let's look at it this way. Planet Zoo, their newest game, obviously has DLC in the works, right? We can assume that. The Arctic pack for Planet Zoo came out at about the same time as Return to Jurassic Park, and neither has had an update, DLC or new creatures or new story or anything since then. Planet Zoo obviously hasn't been discarded, so there's no reason to think Jurassic World has either, basically. I'm not 100% sure in saying that it hasn't, but I'm saying the reasons people think Evolution has been abandoned don't really stack up in my opinion. Okay, I want to move on to modding for the second half of this video. I will try to keep it snappy, and I will inevitably fail. Let's look out the window. There we go. So, there was a moment in Swerve's video, which again you should go check out, where he got an email from Frontier, and as far as he was aware, that was like the first official confirmation we had from Frontier on their stance on modding. And I realised, whilst that wasn't true, the only reason he thought that, and the reason many people might think that, was because I messed up, kind of thing. So let me explain. I'm quite close to the modding community for Evolution. I really enjoy it. I really love the modding community. I think there's lots of great people in there. There's lots of really annoying people in there, basically all of you. But it's a really, really nice community. You should all absolutely get involved as well if you have any interest in modding the game, or just stealing the mods for your own pleasure. But the point is, we got an email very similar to that, or at least a member of the Mod Tools team did, about a month and a half ago now, or a month ago. It was a while ago that we had this kind of official stance from Frontier that they don't officially support modding in any capacity, but they think it's cool. And I realised my failure was not telling you. Like, a lot of people have known this for a while, but we didn't say anything to the wider world. I think a lot of communities have a habit of becoming insular quite quickly if you allow them to. and I think that's a good habit to try to break out of. So I kind of apologise for that. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal, don't get me wrong, but when I first started to cover modding, which was out of nowhere, and again we'll talk about that, one of the first things I should have said was, this is, as far as we know, Frontier's official stance on modding, and I think that would have cleared the air a lot right from the get-go, because it has been a little bit confusing until as of late, so that's kind of my bad. So a month ago, whenever I first started to cover modding, it came about, I had a conversation with somebody at Frontier. Now, I'm not going to reveal who or what we said or anything like that. I really don't want to go into too many details here, but basically after that conversation, I felt more comfortable covering the mods, and that I'd survive, basically. This is I've really recorded this bit like 20 times, because I can't say much. So I didn't want what my experience and my personal interpretation of the situation, which really is what I'm talking about here, to be seen as carte blanche for everyone else to go and do it. Not that they'd be risking anything, not that Frontier would be trying to control them, but the point is, it was my personal interpretation of what happened, it was my personal experience and my personal conversations. You know, I'm really just, whatever, there you go. That's about as close as I'm going to get it. But hopefully that makes a little bit of sense and people understand. So there we go, perfect timing, into the big black tunnel. Spooky. Right, yeah, so there's my Jurassic Park, by the way, lovely. I haven't been paying attention to the screen for the last 20 minutes, so I've failed to record this video. Yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think we'll get content for Jurassic World Evolution this year? I think we'll get maybe one big story pack in the summer or something like that, and a few dinosaur packs along the way. I think it'll be less content than last year, but I do think we'll get stuff. Feel free to come back and tell me if I'm wrong. By the end of April, if you haven't heard anything, feel free to come back and shout at me. But that's only 6 weeks. Ooh, guys, only 6 weeks away. We'll see. But feel free to come back and shout at me down the line until we get content, in which case I'm going to come back and shout at everyone else. Hopefully people feel, if you had worries, slightly allayed. I do think there's lots of reasons to believe that we're going to get more content for Evolution. I could be wrong, you know, I really could, but I tend to be optimistic about these things. We'll just wait and see. Lots of brilliant games out there. Go back and play Return to Jurassic Park DLC again or whatever. Go live your lives. Have a fantastic weekend. Love you lots. Am I talking to my mum on my phone, or what's going on? I'll see you lovely folks next time. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.